Why am I not happy? What am I missing? Why is everyone else happy but not me? I want happiness. I want fulfillment. I want to care about something. Someone. To fill this dark empty space within me. To make me feel something. Anything else than what I feel right now. This numb feeling of nothing. Do I even matter? Do I even care? Goodnight Punpun is a heavy manga where Punpun more or less feels and craves what I just said. This is also why it has taken me longer than any other review to write it. Because how do you begin to tackle something that is this dark, yet deeply human? I know this is not the most happy and upbeat start to a video, but considering the subjects that this manga deals with, I think it is important to acknowledge the seriousness of them. Now, I have no knowledge nor experience with depression or anxiety, so my comments will only be as an outsider. So do take my thoughts with a grain of salt. This is going to be a difficult manga to review. The time has come to take a look at Inio Asano's legendary Goodnight Punpun. Hello mothers, this is my name is Daidarius and welcome to the review of Goodnight Punpun. Now this is probably Asano's most famous manga and he announced it a year after finishing Solanin and also stated that he was done with feel-good stories, and considering the themes in that, it should tell you what to expect in here. He originally wanted the manga to span 7 volumes but got caught up in the art and story. This ended up expanding it into 13 volumes. It ran as a seinen from March 15th, 2007 until November 2nd, 2013. It was later licensed and released by Viz in 2-in-1 omnibuses and ran from March 15th, 2016 until September 19th, 2017. The volumes are of great quality and features a manga panel on the front as well as forms Punpun's profiles on the spines. The colors of the volumes kinda gives an indication of the content, as in darker the color, the darker the content. Which makes you question, what does white mean? There was a misprint of the 6th volume where Punpun was printed in the normal black pigment, which makes it hard to see it on the spine. It is there and you can glimpse it when the light hits it at an imprecise angle. This later reprinted the volume with the error corrected. Now, just as for Solanin, Goodnight Punpun was an outlet for Asano, and I have linked an interview with him where he goes into more details regarding this matter. There are a lot more background info for this manga, but I will let it be up to you to dig through it if you want to know more. Now we're gonna jump on to the story. Goodnight Punpun follows our main protagonist Punpun Punyama throughout his life. We meet him in elementary school as a young, innocent kid who dreams of finding his own planet. When he is confused, he uses an incantation that he learned from his uncle to summon what he believes to be God. One day he meets the new girl in class, Aiko Tanaka, and from that day on, his life would forever change. As Punpun grows up and eventually graduates high school, he slowly becomes more depressed and alienated. His friends from elementary school gradually vanishes from his life and have struggles of their own. He however ends up meeting Sachi Nanjo, who aspires to draw manga, and they end up forming a bond. Maybe she can give Punpun what he is missing. Or maybe Aiko will re-enter his life. Whatever happened to her? There's a lot more to the story, but it primarily focuses on different characters' mental state and asks some heavy questions about happiness and fulfillment. The story also gets exceptionally dark on multiple occasions, and this little warning label right here is not to be taken lightly. Asano goes to great lengths to depict the themes in here as realistic as possible, but I will get on that after talking about the art. The art in Punpun is downright fantastic. Just as with Solanin, most characters have limited details to them, but each line is perfectly placed to bring out the most expression and personality as humanly possible. The use of shading on the characters is also expertly used when important scenes and panels are used as payoff. There are multiple character pieces in here that had me pause and just soak in what was presented to me. The backgrounds this time around are a perfect blend of traditional inking and digital composition. They never distract from the story or pacing and tend to enhance the emotional feedback to bring the reader into the mindset of the characters. My most fond memory is this image of Punpun and his classmates in Volume 1, running hand in hand on a starry night watching a shooting star. It effortlessly throws you back into your own childish mind and let you remember how the world looked to you back then. And there are many more imagery just like this in here. Now I could go on for the rest of the video regarding the art because I do believe it is some of the best art in any manga. And not just because it looks great, but also because of how it enhances the story with use of direction, pacing and symbolism. Not since Berserk have I seen art expertly used like this to tell a story. I do, however, need to touch upon one more thing regarding the art before moving on. Punpun is drawn like a simple bird, but Asano uses this abstract depiction to give an indication of Punpun's mental state. You do sometimes get scenes that reminds you that Punpun does not look like a bird, but look like a human. And the disgusting mastery that Asano shows here is mind-boggling. Without changing the design, he can depict any emotion on Punpun by stringing different panels together and make it seem effortless. Something he only gets better at as the story goes on. This time around, it was actually hard for me to find any aspects of the manga that I didn't appreciate. And not that I set out to do that, but more that when I reflect over the manga after I have actually finished it, I try to see if there's anything that's holding the story as a whole back. And there's only a few minor things that actually stood out to me. There is a plot regarding Toshiki Hoshikawa that kinda came and went without any impact or relevance to the story. All it does is it gives some side characters something to do, so not everything is focused on Punpun. Characters, specifically Punpun, also have a tendency to talk over analytical and superfluous, that it from time to time removes any grounded characteristic that has been established up until this point. Punpun is caught out on it in one scene, which is also why this is more nitpicky, since it was briefly relevant to the story, but it does overstate its welcome. And the ending could have been structured better. There are characters in here that haven't been used since Volume 1, which lessen the impact that the story tries to end on. Luckily, however, these are only minor flaws and in no way do they make this a bad manga. In fact, let me just bring to light some of the countless things that this manga just nails. The depiction of anxiety and depression seems to be some of the most realistic and relatable in recent fiction. As someone who have no prior experience with these subjects, it has given me, if nothing else, a superficial understanding of how it is to deal with through how Punpun and other characters deals, or at least experiencing it. The helpless feeling of not knowing what is wrong and why, and that adding to the weight that tries to drag you under and drown you. If that is in some way how people can describe how it's like to deal with these things, then I at least now have an indication of just what it is like, be it only the tip of the iceberg. The evolution of Punpun is something else. He becomes much more nihilistic, especially in his outlook, and tries desperately to find the purpose of his life. This drives him more suicidal, and it is also why it is difficult to review this manga, because you don't as much cheer Punpun on with his probably catastrophic end, strange relationship with his mother, negligence of close friends, and his life of downright unfortunate events that keeps piling on and even making you depressed. No, you just want something to turn for the better for him. And that 6th volume, very definition of dark. It gives Berserk a run for its money. But all of this is masterfully written and handled. That is why I love it. Not the subject, but how it is handled. Asano also keeps balancing this dark theme with brilliant, albeit morbid humor to at least push you to keep reading. And it briefly lets you forget that it only gets more dark as you go. which again only strengthens as you get to care for these characters and don't want any harm to happen upon them, however naive that mindset is. And I also love the fact that Punpun never speaks. The narrator quotes him instead, so you really can imprint yourself onto him. That, mixed in with the sublime directions of scenes that leans more on subtext than actual exposition of characters' emotion and mindset, differentiates it from other manga. There are times where it feels like that Asano is simply flexing on all us posers on how to depict subtext. There are some great plot twists throughout the story and more than one absolute gut punches. And even though that the ending wasn't this perfect execution, it still leaves you some dark implications that leaves the story on a fitting note. There are more things I will cover, like symbolism, mental states, relatable situations, growth, aimlessness and more, but just know that Punpun more or less nails all of it. To sum up, this is a story that should be approached with caution. You will not be happy after reading it, but you will get to know yourself more, for better or worse. This is a very dark story with great humor to break up the depressive sections that just keeps getting darker and darker. And it does not pull its punches. The ending will leave you thinking and reflecting. The characters are a bit automatic, but it helps move the story forward and drags you into helpless situations where you keep reflecting episodes of your own life that in some shape or form fits in here. And you have to ask yourself, what do you want from life? What keeps you going? Are you happy? And if nothing else, do you feel better now than you did last year? This manga has a lot going for it and only a little holding it back. It makes you dread, what does a white volume mean? Considering suicidal thoughts that are crushing Punpun more and more. But you won't be able to turn away. You have to keep reading. Which is why I would say that Goodnight Punpun, it is worth buying in deluxe edition. I know this is not the most fun review I have done compared to the others, and I did consider throwing jokes in here while writing the scripts for this review, but the themes of this manga left me not wanting to. The characters tend to be exceptionally real, which make their issues seem more realistic in return. So instead of a funny review, I decided to make this more serious one. And I hope you think it fitted this manga better. If not, write your thoughts down below. And also, Goodnight Punpun, have you read it? What do you think about it? And what is your favorite Inyo Asano manga? I've only read 2, so I can only comment on Solanin and Goodnight Punpun. This time around, I think I like Solanin more, but Goodnight Punpun is a better crafted work. Does that make sense? So, favorite of the 2, Solanin. Objectively best of the 2, Goodnight Punpun. I think that's how I ranked it. But whatever your thoughts are, and if you have any thoughts on this more serious review, considering the manga that I reviewed, whatever you have, comment below with me your thoughts. And as always, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. See ya. I am now gonna try and do my best to read and review Akira for New Year's Eve. I hope I can make it in time, but anyway. See ya.